this. It's probably already too late. It's a new general data protection regulation going into effect 25th of May. We made our first request a couple of months after the last talk meeting, 2 years ago. If this was something anybody was interested in, but as most people here are engineers or technical world, they probably haven't heard of it, except if they really like privacy regulations. We didn't get any feedback until a couple of months ago, where I got the first mails and I was like, wow, okay, sure, let's take a look at it again. Now we actually had the real proposal, which is being put into legislation, instead of just the early draft, which were 2 years ago.
The subjects, if your company, the subject of this regulation is if your company offers goods or services in the EU, or you have employees that are residents of the EU, or you have some monitoring of users or other clients. The basic principles that GDPR has it's based on, it's to protect and ensure integrity, confidentiality, accountability. For the first one, HighStage already supports it, since you can, for example, per workspace, you can define who should be able to read, who should be able to write. The same goes for subtype, and that way we ensure that we have a fine-grained authorization. For the accountability, that's what HighStage is the best at, tracing and making sure that we can see who did what and what has changed by whom. For the following ones, it's not necessarily HighStage responsibility or like a scope of HighStage. It's more in your organization, and how your processes define the scope of what data should be used, and how the identifiable data makes sense to be stored, and for how long. For example, the data minimization represents the scope of the information that you store. For example, if you have some personal information about your former employees, there are some regulations both from EU and from your own purpose, because maybe they've worked with hazard materials, and you have to keep their contact information for 5 years for medical insurance.
So why does this affect you, and why does it affect HighStage? Because HighStage is not an HR system. It's a system made to maintain PDM. However, we see some of you using the system and putting information, documents containing personal identifiable data inside HighStage. And since we in HighStage have not created the leave function, which this regulation specifically say need to be implemented those places where this kind of data is used in organizations, it affect us and affect you if you use it. So what we have done is, we're not going to tell you much about it. We've just created the underlying tool in order for us to be able to comply, that you can use HighStage still how you use it today under the new regulation. If you don't know much about it, contact your lawyer. It's much better. They know much more about it than we do, and how it affects you.
Yep. Our initial implementation of the tool for GDPR consists of a retention date. That's from the moment when the document has become obsolete. How long are you going to store it? If it contains identifiable information. For this, we envisioned a customizable life cycle, where you can customize the period in which they are retained. So, for example, we can have 6 months, and in the life cycle, we envision that the data responsible, so the person who identified all the documents that you have that are susceptible to GDPR, and then you'll have a normal 3 months date, and then you'll have a review date where you review months, and where you will ensure that this document is still susceptible, and within the organization we are not going to use it, and there's no need for us to keep it. Our implementation so far consists of deletion of files associated with the specific item. because that's how we saw that most of the information is stored not as metadata in HighStage, but we can support that as well in the future.
How it's going to affect you? If you don't have any personal and development data in any of your documents, not at all. Well, if you go down to your SQL columns, you'll probably see a new column called GDPR, but it will not affect, no logic change, nothing. However, if you have, send me a mail, then we'll take this discussion further. But what will happen, first of all, for the document type is that if we enable this feature on your server, you'll get a new box called GDPR. You might change the name. You can then, for a certain type, specify that this is a GDPR type. So this logic should apply to this base type, subtype. It will get this box, which gives you the possibility to remove it from that document, and it will get a retention date. You cannot delete the file specifically, but you can set the retention date. When the retention date is met, the deletion access will be put in place. And we can specify the period in the schema. So maybe you have in your contract with your customer that you're going to keep this specific type data, which you keep in a type for 5 years. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 2 weeks. We don't know. Depends on the need you have in your organization for these data. But then you can just set that in HighStage, and it will be deleted after that time, if it's not renewed.
Is that enough? I thought you need to be able to delete any document upon request.
Sorry, you need to.
Is that enough to have just a specific date? Isn't I think you are obliged. You need to be able to delete any document.
Oh, on this date, it will be deleted automatically.
Yeah, but if I need to do it prior to that date,
you can set this date to tomorrow. You will usually specify it will be specified in the policy that when a customer asks for their data to be deleted, you will start a process to delete it.
So I can change that date.
You can change that date. You have a field to do that.
Okay.
I don't have any. You can just, yes, because a customer can come in if you have this kind of data and say, we want you to start removing my data.
Okay.
But it should not. In that second, it can just be processed. For example, a bank cannot just remove the record.
I didn't understand that you couldn't change that.
We will also have a function to renew this because this data is maybe still relevant. You maybe still have obligation to have it, some other. So there will be a renewal functionality. So if you enable this, you should have somebody responsible to go through this data and renew these data. So you'll get an overview over the items that you need to renew for this month, for example. Yeah?
Is there some kind of notification combined with this so that you were notified before you delete it? Because if you put in the wrong date, then suddenly the data is gone.
Yeah, that's why we envision the life cycle. So we have different stages where if it's in the after the half of the cycle, you would get the responsible will get a notification. Okay, you have these documents to be deleted in 3 months.
Okay.